As we head into this school year, I know that you're thinking about having some healthy work and home balance because when things get out of whack, that's when things start going wrong. And so I don't know about you, but I've been preparing my mind to get ready and back into the swing of things this fall. And there have been a few things on my mind. But before we get to that, um, I'm sure that you have social media. So maybe you have Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Like if you're a grandma, you really use Facebook, but if you're like under 35, you really use TikTok. And then there's like the middle-aged people like me that use Instagram. Anyway, I noticed on Instagram that my algorithm felt like it was stuck. So it felt like I was only seeing Disney videos, videos about being a dad, and awkward church experiences, like where somebody's playing the drums and a tree falls on their head, or people dancing in the 80s in church. That's all I was seeing: Disney dads and weird church stuff. And I thought, how weird is that? The algorithm is like stuck for me. You know, that formula that says, oh, this is all the stuff that Matt likes. I felt like the algorithm was stuck. So I intentionally one day was like, I am tired of seeing all these the same things. So I was thinking about other things that I like, that I would want to see on Instagram, and I actually went and like sought them out so that they would come in to my Instagram so I would see them more. So I love things like leadership and culture. So I looked up some of my favorite people, liked some of their videos, followed some new people. I love cooking, so I went and looked. There's this guy right now that I like, Grossi Pelosi. He likes to cook. A friend told me about him. And there's another guy that I like that cooks through like old fashioned cookbooks. He just released a book, so I went and found him because I also like cooking. And then I also really like entrepreneurship and small business. And so there are some people that I went and sought out, so that I would see some of their stuff. See, the algorithm felt broken. It felt like I needed to do something different, to make it feel fresh, to make it not feel stuck. And I hate that stuck feeling. But we all get there because here's what happens is when we get comfortable and when we feel like things are going well, it is so easy to feel stuck. Now, probably the best example that I have of this is, for me, about 7 or 8 years ago, my wife and I moved to Worcester, and we bought our home. Our home, I'll tell you where we moved from. We moved from an apartment, and our the apartment that we lived in was wonderful. It was a wonderful apartment, but it had one bedroom, had a really nice open kitchen. It had an open concept living room, and it had this upstairs that was all open. Had one bathroom, and we actually, a funny thing about our apartment was, you our bedroom was on the first floor, but our bathroom was on the second floor. So in the middle of the night, or like getting ready for bed, we would like go upstairs, get ready for bed, go to the bathroom, come back. Then when my wife got pregnant with our first baby, Luca, who's 9, my wife, all of you that have had babies, you know that the bathroom's a very important place when you're pregnant. And so my wife would trek herself upstairs, sometimes in the middle of the night, to use the restroom while she was pregnant with our first baby. And it was fine, but I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait for the day when we don't have this anymore. So fast forward, our baby was a toddler, and we found a wonderful home in Worcester, and we ended up moving here. And I'll remember I will never ever ever forget the first night in our brand new house. We were laying, in our bedroom, the primary bedroom in our house, and it was my wife's spot in our bed where she still sleeps today, is like 5 steps away from the door of our bathroom. And I remember that first night thinking, we are living like kings. This is great. We have storage space. We have more than one bathroom. We only have to get up and walk 5 steps to get to the toilet. This place is great. We have our own lawn. We have a big kitchen. This is awesome. And then we lived there for a little bit. And then we noticed that some things weren't perfect. And then we had another kid. and we noticed things started leaking and we needed to take care of things. And then we had a third kid and we thought, this house really isn't that big anymore. Ugh, why does our bathroom look like this? Why is our kitchen this small? Why is this basement so gross to us? See, after a while, it wore off. The gratefulness and the thankfulness and the love that we had for our home, it wore off. It didn't take long, but it kind of lost its shine, and it kind of lost the love that we had for it, and the gratefulness in our heart for what our house really is. And we've kind of come full circle. I'm not going to lie, because we did some updates on our house and we love our home. We didn't move. We didn't buy a bigger house. We didn't build a new house. We just did some little things and some little projects, and we love where we live. It is adequate space for our family. You see, sometimes I think that we get stuck in this rut of not being grateful. We get stuck in this rut of kind of getting comfortable with what we have and then thinking it's not enough. You know, I think when it comes to habits for us, a way to remain grateful and a way to remain balanced and improve our outlook and our mental health is through gratefulness. There was this study in Harvard that I love. I love this study. It was a study done, I don't know how long ago, but the way that they set up the study, it was 3 groups. So there was like a control group. So the control group, they asked them, hey, for the next 10 weeks, I want you to journal and record facts and sentences about your day. Then they picked a group and they said, hey, for 10 weeks, I want you to record things that annoy you or bother you. So for 10 weeks, we're going to just get a journal and write everything that annoys you or bothers you. And then there was a third group, and they told this third group, they said, hey, for the next 10 weeks, every day, I want you to write down some things for which you are grateful. So every day, spend a little bit of time writing things that bring you joy, things that give you gratitude, or things that make you thankful in your heart. Here's what they noticed at the end of that study. The people that wrote the facts, they were okay. The people that wrote the negative things had some negative impacts. They experienced more anxiety and depression. They were less optimistic, and it actually changed their physical health and their brain chemistry. Here's what's really cool. The group that wrote the positive things, they actually had a huge change. Here are some things that they noticed, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to miss any of them. They had increased outlook and positivity about the future. They were optimistic about what was to come. They were anticipating good things in the future. They were looking forward to what was happening. They noticed physical changes in them, particularly their blood pressure lowered. That's fascinating to me. They enjoyed positive experiences more when they recorded about them than they ever had before. So they enjoyed all those really great experiences that they were grateful for. They were immersed in them and enjoyed them even more. They noted that the relationships with the people around them were stronger. And the last thing was they had more grit and resilience to deal with the conflicts that arose in their life. I love that. In this study for 10 weeks, all it took was this group categorizing things that made them grateful or made them feel thankful. You know, maybe you're listening and you're like, I am not a journaling person. That is not my style. I am not into that. Well, there is someone I love to listen to, her podcast, it's The Lazy Genius. And she would say, if you tell me to write a gratitude journal, that feels like school and I will not do it. So she actually kind of pushed back on that. And she gave 3 tips for how to remain grateful in a more authentic way. And the way that she would say it is it's more authentic. She would say that you notice things in the moment. To make it a point when you're driving, if you see a beautiful cloud that you're like, man, that's awesome. Noticing that in the moment. If you're playing with your kids and you notice your older child hang out with your younger child or reading a book to them or investing in them, that you actually pause in that moment and just kind of sock it away. Or maybe your spouse does something for you, or maybe you have a great meal, or a friend says something encouraging to you, that you take those moments instead of just moving on to the next thing, that you pause and reflect on them and notice it in the moment. The lazy genius would say this too. For me to remain grateful, it's helpful for me to gain perspective. You know, if you work around students, if you work anywhere outside of your nuclear family, there are many perspectives that you are going to encounter. And the reality is, if you're listening to my voice, you probably have a lot to be thankful for. You probably have a roof over your head, people that love you, people that check in on you, and your belly's never been hungry. Man, we have a lot to be grateful for. So the lazy genius would say, when I need a little bit of perspective, I think, man, I really do have the things that I need to be grateful for. And the third thing she would say is, we need to change our language around thankfulness. You know, if you ask someone, what are you thankful for? It puts this really weird pressure to say, well, you, or my family, or my home, or my job. It kind of puts this pressure on those really big things that we're like, yeah, we should be thankful for those things, right? But she talks about changing your language. I was thinking about this for us. There's something we started in our family with our kids because we were tired of the what happened at school today, nothing, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And so my wife actually started probably about 2 years ago asking our kids, what made you feel awesome today? That's it. That's the question we ask. What made you feel awesome today? Here's what that does for me. When my kids answer the question, what makes you feel awesome today, or what made you feel awesome today? When my kids answer that question, you know what they're telling me about? They're telling me about their friends. They're telling me about what happened at school. They're telling me what they're thinking about. They're telling me what they're worried about. They're telling me what makes them happy, and they're actually telling me what makes them sad as well. See, when we ask different types of questions or we change our language around thankfulness, it takes that pressure off. You know, I'm sure you've heard this. Instead of saying, I have to do this today, I get to do this today. You know, there are times in our life where there are things that we just don't want to do. You know, one for me is sometimes I struggle with the chores that come with having children. I'm like, I didn't make this mess. I don't want to feed all these people. I don't want to clean up this. But you know what I tell myself is it's a privilege that I have been entrusted with these 3 little children. It's a privilege that I have to get to raise them. Listen, that doesn't mean there aren't days where it feels long and horrible. But whenever I have that perspective shift to say, man, I get to be a dad. I get to do laundry for my kids. That means I have a house full of kids. You know, I have fingerprints all over my windows. That means there are alive and active kids that can get into things and move around the house without me helping them, that they are healthy, that they're exploring things. Man, what a privilege it is for me to have that. See, I think for us, sometimes our mind algorithm can get stuck in the same thing. Our mind algorithm can get stuck in the same books. It can get stuck in the I have to do dinner. It can get stuck in the I have to feed people. It can get stuck in I have to go to work. It can get stuck in I have to do this. But what if we were intentional about changing our mind's algorithm? What if we were intentional about looking at things from a different perspective? What if we were intentional about bringing things into our mind that would really help us change our outlook? What if we were really intentional about the language that we use around gratitude to help us change our hearts? See, here's what I know. I know that when we build intentional practices, whether it's journaling or being intentional in the moment or changing our language, whatever that is, I know that when we do those practices, that we actually change our outlook on life. We can change the algorithm that's running in our head all day by bringing in some very simple practices. So here's my challenge for you. As you're reflecting on what's playing in your algorithm, maybe right now it's dread about the upcoming year. Maybe it's anticipation. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's the things you have to do. Maybe it's worry. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's, oh, I have to address this conflict, or I have this big project coming up. What if our algorithm changed? What if we brought things into our mind to say, hey, let's shift the narrative a little bit. That 1% shift can make a difference. So what if we started building our algorithm so that we can have a positive outlook and bring balance to the force as we head into this year? Hey, my heart is full for the work that you all are doing. And I am so thankful for OHUDDLE, what it stands for, where we're headed, and the role that you all play. And as a school employee and as a board member, I just want to say thank you for what you do to connect to kids, to love students, to love our community members that are mentoring, and to invest in our schools. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great beginning to your school year.